Oh,
What's today?
cold.
April 9th. We're on the beach in South Carolina. And it's freezing.
It's really cold. The wind doesn't help. It was 80 degrees in Charleston the other day, so if it had just flopped and been 80 degrees today instead of 54.
I mean, the beach is pretty sparse, and you're like, oh, like this would probably be a really nice beach to come swim in the summer, but people in South Carolina are probably smarter than coming to the beach today. So we're gonna go ahead and give you the full list right up front. If you're just here for the list, we're not gonna waste your time. But if you're interested in seeing some of the things we saw and hear more information about our experience, keep your eyeballs right here and we'll go through it. In Charleston, South Carolina, a lot of the big attractions close down at around 5 p.m. So if you're still looking to play and explore the outdoors and do something fun, if you have a kid running around who needs to get some energy out, a lot of great parks in the area. We went to Riverfront Park and just got to enjoy Elijah doing some puddle jumping. Get all the puddles, bud. Get all the puddles.
It was really pretty right on the water. They had a couple swings along the water that you could sit on and relax for a few minutes, so it was a nice stop after a long day of walking.
Obviously, if you're traveling on foot, you can get up close to a lot of the great buildings and see the cool architecture and get a lot of great photos. The issue is that some of these are kind of far apart, so you know, if you're walking around the city, you're going to put some miles on your feet, so just keep that in mind. All right, Kelly, what are we doing today?
Going to the beach. Isle of Palms. It's a little cold. Not quite 60 degrees yet.
We went to the very beautiful Isle of Palms beach, but it just so happened to be really, really cold, so we weren't really swimming or getting in the water at all, but it seemed like a great location. The scenery was beautiful. Of course, who doesn't love the beach? So yeah, definitely get a chance to check out this beach. This water is so cold.
Since it was so cold, we didn't stay there very long, but the beach itself was very nice. It wasn't super crowded. They did have some stores and some restaurants right along the beach, so we did walk a little bit just to go into some of the different stores, but definitely a place that would be worth checking out. We would like to visit it again when it's a little warmer and we can actually go into the ocean and there's a little more open.
Angel oak tree was awesome. Chances are you haven't seen a tree quite like this one. It's pretty impressive to look at. I mean, the downside, much to the chagrin of our child, is that there is no climbing on this tree. So they're trying to preserve it and get it to last as much as possible, but I mean, look at those branches. It just looks like the perfect treehouse tree, and like it would be so much fun to climb. This tree is enormous. They got all these posts here supporting the branches. This is crazy. The angel oak.
They estimate the angel oak to be about 400 years old, and the life expectancy is about 900 years old. So the tree would like to keep living.
Angel oak tree is a beautiful, huge old oak tree. It's a popular place to visit, and there's not a lot to do right there other than see the tree, but it is worth making a stop. It's very old, and it is just huge. I mean, probably the biggest tree width-wise I've ever seen. The neat thing is the branches kind of grow to the ground and then start growing back up again. You cannot climb on it. They're very strict about that because they're trying to preserve it. And there is a large fence around it, which we didn't know. And they do close it depending on the weather. So when we got there, it had been kind of stormy prior to us getting there. So they had closed it and we couldn't get in. But we kind of hung around and waited a little bit, and they did come and open the gate for us to go in.
Dismissed, rejected, publicly humiliated.
Hey you. Howdy folks. Arriving at the Boone Hall Plantation, which was a filming location for movies like The Notebook and some others.
At least The Notebook was filmed. Part of it, the main house, the outdoor, or the exterior was Allie's house in The Notebook.
A lot of history here, so we don't only go to places that are film related. So this was an actual plantation, and there's slave houses you can tour and stuff. So we're gonna check it out and learn some history today.
There are a number of historical plantations to visit around Charleston and the surrounding area. We went to Boone Hall Plantation. It's still a working farm, which is really neat. They have original slave quarters with history on the different African American people who lived there and worked the land. It was a very humbling experience to walk through the different cabins, but they do a lot of history just on that time period and up until the, Lincoln and the Emancipation, and it was just, there's a lot there and a lot that you can learn. It was really cool.
Elijah, why don't you tell them what happened, huh? Not really allowed to film or take pictures inside, and Elijah was making tons of noise. So we just decided to come out here and climb in a tree, just hang out until Mommy's done with the tour. So we'll let her tell us what's up about the house.
In the dining room, they have like this huge mirror. It's like floor to ceiling, and I'd really like it in my house. But they were gonna try to transport it back to some other state, Indiana or something, and they realized it was like
impossible.
Very, very slim chance of it actually making it back there without breaking into pieces. So
nice.
It was really cool looking.
They do also have a stable, some horses, a cafe, a butterfly house.
That's cool. Gold Star Family's Memorial.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard the Spirit of Charleston for our trip out to Fort Sumter National Historical Park today. For all the kids on board and for all the adults on board, please no running inside the fort.
There are two places you can catch a ferry over to the fort. We caught the ferry in Mount Pleasant and rode it over to Fort Sumter. It was a really neat place to visit. This is where the Civil War kind of started. But they do have a little museum in there, a little gift shop, there's bathrooms. You only spend about an hour on the island.
Fort Sumter. Gimbal is busted. I mean, the batteries didn't charge at all, so handheld all the way. Kelly, do you want
What?
to tell something interesting about Fort Sumter?
I wasn't paying attention enough to everything he was saying.
I really enjoyed checking out Fort Sumter because if you like history at all and you understand Fort Sumter's significance to the start of the Civil War, it's definitely a site that you should check out. Again, no climbing, leaning, standing on, just like any of it. I mean, they want these things to last for a long time, and you know, they also emphasize no running around here. So, I mean, I think if you have a bunch of kids, it seemed like, you know, some of the kids were being corralled a little bit by the rangers around here, but you know, overall a pretty great experience. Nice to learn some more of the history surrounding Fort Sumter, and you know, they have a little museum that you can kind of walk through here, and you know, just some places to kind of hang out and chill, and overall it was pretty cool to see. There are a lot of great dining options in Charleston. One place that kept coming up on everyone's list was Hyman's Seafood. This place is unique in that it has like little plaques on each of the tables that show what famous people ate at that table, which is kind of a neat feature. I'm not the biggest seafood fan in the world. Typically my main go-to for seafood is like salmon, and you know, don't necessarily take my word for it, but this place might have been the best salmon that I've ever eaten.
And definitely recommend checking out Hyman's if you're in Charleston.
You know, we also checked out a local soft serve ice cream place, Charleston Creamery. We also visited locals in Charleston, South Carolina. Kelly was able to get a taco and I was able to get a sushi roll, so you know, that's a fun combination there for sure.
We are gonna go on a historic carriage ride through Charleston, so that's gonna be really fun.
For a little carriage tour.
We're so excited. Are you excited? Do you see the horses?
The horse was really great. His name was Bill.
The carriage ride through historic Charleston was a lot of fun. Now, you're not exactly being transported back to the past because there are modern vehicles and street signs and everything like that around, but it is nice to just kind of sit and relax your feet and just kind of take in the views and the architecture of some of these really old buildings. Definitely beautiful, definitely a lot of interesting history there. Not a lot around historical events, at least in our tour was more around sort of the architecture and the just general design. So, I mean, keep that in mind. Maybe some of the other tours offer like a different take on some of the buildings and some of the history.
So that's a fun experience. There's a lot of carriage tour companies right there in Charleston, so you have a lot of different options of who to go with. Definitely recommend, if you want to see a decent amount of Charleston without having to walk the whole thing, book yourself a carriage tour. It's worth it.
That's our list. Now it's time for you guys to decide what you want to do.
What do you want?
And there goes my son. There he goes. Oh, and he just fell. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so we're about to leave Boone Hall and Plantation. Is it Boone Hall?
Plantation.
Plantation. All right, Mommy, what'd you learn?
It's hard to retain any of it. Isn't that silly?
Anything interesting about the furniture? Hey, bud, what are you doing? You're playing your daily game of pick your nose and wipe it on Mom and Dad? Is that what's happening?
That's the phase we're in.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.